In doing some research about films that James Bond has influenced, I found the 60s had several, but I think the Pink Panther movie series from that time isn't really talked about that often. The Pink Panther has a complicated history. I remember growing up watching the Pink Panther cartoon, and I just assumed the Pink Panther live action were somehow offshoots of this somehow. In reality, the character of the Pink Panther first appeared in the credits of the Pink Panther. That's where they introduced that really cool theme too, written by Henry Mancini. Now, when I watched the Pink Panther cartoon, they would often have this short in the middle starring a man called the Inspector. Now, this is referring to Jacques Cousteau, a character from the first Pink Panther movie, played by the very famous Peter Sellers. Now, I remember watching these live-action movies as a kid and thinking that they had plots very similar to James Bond. And I checked this out, and some of them do. I can't believe that there were 9 of these films originally, and most of them were directed by the very famous Blake Edwards. This includes the first film, simply called The Pink Panther, which I thought was kind of boring. I actually just watched it recently, and it was centered around a diamond with a pink discoloration in it that had the shape of a panther. How in the world did you come up with a cartoon franchise based on that? In addition to The Pink Panther, there were other films that starred Peter Sellers, like Shot in the Dark, Inspector Clouseau, Return of the Pink Panther, The Pink Panther Strikes Again, and Revenge of the Pink Panther. Yeah, these films are pretty comedic, and they are often satires of James Bond movie plotlines. I plan to discuss a lot of these James Bond parodies, as there are very many. Now, the last of the 3 films of the first Pink Panther series were without Mr. Sellers, who died shortly after the Revenge of the Pink Panther. Trail of the Pink Panther, in fact, is essentially a bunch of outtakes and deleted scenes throughout Sellers' career, and that, I've heard, is about it. Now, the film Curse of the Pink Panther introduces an inept American detective trying to find out where Clouseau has gone. And Roger Moore, one of the actual Bond guys, plays Clouseau briefly here. Then they made this other film in 1993 starring Roberto Benigni as Clouseau's illegitimate son in the appropriately titled Son of the Pink Panther. And after that, they had a reboot with Steve Martin playing the lead Inspector Clouseau. And that movie actually had a sequel. All of the things have what most James Bond movies have. They have like a criminal mastermind, trips to exotic locations, and some agent trying to figure out the case. It's just that Clouseau was just more inept, and Sellers played up his Frenchness to the bone. Hey. Now, maybe you grew up watching those films. I barely remember them. Leave a comment to express your opinion on the Pink Panther film series.